The health department logs less than 1,000 new COVID-19 cases across the country for the 12th straight day. One health official believes that a higher target vaccination rate is needed for protection against COVID-19 variants. Thousands of students in Metro Manila will return to schools for limited in person classes starting tomorrow. And Mount Semeru in East Java, Indonesia erupts, leaving at least 13 people dead and dozens injured so far. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Riza Diaz. Now, the Philippines is seeing a decline in COVID-19 cases with an average of about 450 cases per day. That's according to Octa Research Group. Professor Guido David told One News that the downtrend is due to ramped up vaccinations and strict compliance to protocols. He described the steady decrease in new infections as a pleasant surprise, as this does not fall within their forecast. The health department logged over 600 new COVID-19 cases today. The country's caseload now stands at above 2.8 million, over 13,000 of which are still active. 156 people died of the virus overnight, pushing the death toll to over 49,000. Now, total recoveries are at 2.7 million after 1,000 new survivors were logged in the past 24 hours. 1.8% of the 35,900 COVID-19 tests included in today's bulletin yielded positive results. Now, one health official believes that at least 90% of the population should be vaccinated against COVID-19 to achieve herd immunity. Undersecretary Leopoldo Vega said in a radio interview that the target vaccine coverage should be increased due to variants. Vega noted that while the number of new infections in the country decreases, new COVID-19 variants are being detected abroad. Recall that the health department earlier said 70% as the target vaccination rate for herd immunity against the virus. Experts from around the world are racing to find out more about the Omicron variant. Now, which first emerged in South Africa? Bloomberg's Jason Gale tells us what they know so far in this video.
So this is a really interesting and a little bit bizarre virus that has emerged kind of out of nowhere. So with all the previous variants, we've been able to kind of track their lineage and have an understanding of how it sort of evolved in different populations over time. But with this particular one, it has so many mutations. There is no link with really any previous variant in terms of time and place. But we do know that it has more than 30 genetic changes on the spike protein, and that's the really important part of the virus, particularly what's known as the receptor binding domain. That's the area of the spike protein that interacts directly with our cells to cause an infection, and it's also the target of the antibodies that we mount in response to vaccination and in response to a natural infection. Although the signs in South Africa at the moment are that people are being reinfected. We don't really know where Omicron's come from. We know that the initial cases were reported in Southern Africa and Botswana, as well as in South Africa. These countries are sort of implicated in the emergence, but really we don't know for sure where or how it's emerged. One possibility is that the virus emerged in an immunocompromised patient who had the coronavirus for many, many months, and that chronic infection allowed the virus to slowly adapt inside the patient and become better suited to being inside the patient. Well, at the moment, we just don't know enough about this variant. Certainly, the indications are that it's spreading very fast in South Africa, but we need to know, firstly, is it more transmissible than Delta? There are signs that it probably is because it's outcompeting Delta in provinces like Gauteng and South Africa. We want to know if it's capable of evading our immune responses from the antibodies that we generate from vaccination or a prior infection, and there is some evidence that's probably happening. So I spoke earlier in the week with Deborah Cromer, a scientist at the University of New South Wales, who has a different take on whether we will need to tweak current vaccines.
I don't think we should all get all excited about some sort of Omicron-specific vaccine, because so far that's not what we've seen as being the best thing to fight against it. New South Wales was having 2,000 cases a day, and now they're having 100 or 200 cases a day, and that is just as a result of vaccinating people. So the vaccines we've got do work, at least against Delta, and hopefully they'll continue to do so against.
And we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Some public schools in Metro Manila have been allowed to conduct limited face-to-face classes starting tomorrow. Let's take a quick look at their preparations in this report by Faith Del Mundo.
At least 28 schools in Metro Manila are set to conduct limited face-to-face classes starting December 6. One of which is Ramon Abansenia High School in Manila. Teacher Imelda said they will impose contactless tracing on top of the minimum health protocols.
Magmula po sa gate, kung mapapansin ninyo kanina, pagpasok ninyo, meron po tayong QR code. Kasi po we encourage contactless tracing, tapos lahat po contactless. So, meron po tayong QR code dyan, meron po tayong Stay Safe app, para po pagpasok ng mga bata, we know their condition.
There are signages for social distancing. Inside the classrooms, there are acrylic partitions as part of the precautionary measures against COVID-19. The Education Department says this can be removed should students have a hard time with it.
Based sa report, yung mga bata medyo hindi na nila makita yung blackboard kapag nandun sila sa bandang likod dahil doon sa plastic barriers. Dito sa NCR po, hindi na natin ni-require yung plastic barrier. Pero po may nakita tayo nung nag-ikot tayo na mayroon pa rin dahil ito daw ay request ng mga magulang.
The school also designated an isolation room for those who will manifest COVID-19 symptoms. Those who are symptomatic and have been exposed to a COVID-positive individual will be tested.
Yung kasalukuyan pong policy ngayon ng Department of yung DepEd sa DOH po, Dalawa lang po ang magiging basihan ng pagsasubject natin sa mga bata ng testing, no?
But the Alliance of Concerned Teachers is calling for regular testing among teachers and students. They also urge the DepEd to deploy at least one healthcare worker in each school.
Nire-reiterate pa rin natin yung ating mga demands para matiyak yung tuloy-tuloy na operasyon ng mga eskwelahan na ito. Una, yung pagkakonduct ng testing sa ating mga mag-aaral at mga teachers weekly. This is the best way for us to determine kung may COVID-19 infection sa hanay ng ating mga guro at mga estudyante at maagapan kung meron man ito. So far, ito yung missing.
But even with the protocols in place, many parents still worry about the safety of their children.
Natatakot din po, pero syempre po kailangan sundin pa rin po yung mga protocol. Sana po magkaroon na po ng injection muna para sa mga 11 years old pababa para po mas maganda yung face-to-face na pag-aaral nila.
For News 5, Faith Del Mundo, we are One News.
The National Police is all systems go to provide security at schools in Metro Manila that will conduct limited in-person learning. PNP Chief Leonardo Carlos said they have already received a list of the 28 schools where the deployment of police personnel is expected. But Carlos added that he had directed his officers to refrain from entering campuses unless security assistance is needed. Recently, the police force drew criticisms after photos of security detailing wielding firearms and standing guard inside a classroom went viral. Eruption of Mount Semeru in Indonesia has so far killed 13 individuals and injured dozens, according to the country's disaster mitigation agency. In a news release, authorities said 98 people were injured, including 2 pregnant women, while some 902 were evacuated. Most injuries were burns, according to authorities. The tallest mountain in Java Island, Mount Semeru, spewed towers of ash and hot clouds on Saturday, completely submerging houses. Search teams continue to look for victims in midst of deep layers of volcanic ash. Now for some light news, trainee Santas are gearing up for the holiday season at the Ministry of Fun. Bloomberg takes us to London to see the Santa headquarters. Let's watch this.
These coronavirus issues are simply another way of dealing with changing times. So yes, there are masks. Yes, there are social distancing issues. But we're all very sensible individuals here. So, Santa, let's face it, has been self-isolating for the last 11 months. So none of this is ever a problem.
The demand has just absolutely kicked off. So we've had to recruit more and more Santas. I think we've got about 25, 30 new Santas onto the books this year who are doing multiple bookings, sometimes several bookings a day. They might go and do a public appearance or a live show and then return home and do a few from the North Pole, from the comfort of their own sofa.
Now, for more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.